Farrah Fawcett's only son, Redmond, led a troubled life marked by run-ins with the law, addiction, and mental health struggles. Sadly, the Hollywood icon never got to see him flourish before her death, and Redmond's life has only grown more troubled. In 1979, Farrah Fawcett divorced her husband of 9 years, Lee Majors. That happened after she met Ryan O'Neal, with whom she soon began a torrid love affair. Fawcett gave birth to the couple's only son, Redmond, in 1985, though his home life was far from stable. In a 2009 Vanity Fair article, O'Neal admitted that he and Fawcett had begun fighting about Redmond when he was still a toddler. He attributed this to his longtime girlfriend's stubbornness, adding that they used to fight nonstop. Unfortunately, many of O'Neal's children have accused their father of abusive behavior that often involved drugs. When Ryan appeared on Today in May 2012, Matt Lauer asked the actor whether he thought he'd been a bad parent. O'Neal replied,
"Looks like it, doesn't it? Sure looks like it."
Fawcett and O'Neal had an on-again, off-again relationship for 17 years before they finally called it quits in 1997. Their romance came to an end when the Charlie's Angels star caught him in bed with another woman.
"I feel that I failed Farrah."
Sadly, Redmond was around for a lot of his parents' arguments while they were together, which his father acknowledged in his 2009 memoir, Both of Us, My Life with Farrah. The actor also detailed how Redmond reacted to his parents' explosive quarrel, writing, "Redmond's holding a butcher's knife. He points the tip of the blade at his chest. I'm going to stab myself if you don't stop it." That ended the argument.
He didn't want to see this. He couldn't stand it.
While many parents often try to stay together for their children, it seems like Fawcett and Ryan's split was for the betterment of their son, who was 12 when they parted ways. The Hollywood stars announced they would continue to co-parent Redmond amidst their breakup, but they eventually reunited in 2001 after Ryan was diagnosed with leukemia. Like many children of famous stars, Redmond O'Neal tried his hand at his parents' craft. Sadly, however, he wasn't very successful. As a boy, Redmond lent his voice to Johnny Bravo and The Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars as minor characters, but it seems that this is as far as he took his acting career. Several years later in 2003, he was credited as a production assistant in the Nick Cannon movie Love Don't Cost a Thing, but it was the final project he worked on. While his career in showbiz didn't take off, Redmond's never known a life outside of the public eye. His mom tried to give him a normal upbringing, but as the son of two high-profile stars who had a headline-making relationship, that was easier said than done. Fawcett told the Los Angeles Times in 1999, "I loved my childhood, and in a way I feel his has been distorted. It's been taken too early from him." Redmond's struggles began at a young age. According to Ryan, Fawcett eventually tried to handle it by sending him to a controversial program. In his tell-all interview with Vanity Fair, O'Neal stated that Fawcett placed Redmond into a behavior modification program, where he was allegedly physically abused. O'Neal recalled, "She put Redmond in a place we couldn't get him out of for 18 months. They beat the heck out of him because he had been caught for marijuana. He lay on the floor for 36 hours refusing to say he was sorry." According to O'Neal, Fawcett apparently stayed busy while their son was in the program and supposedly wasn't too concerned about getting him home. He alleged, "She'd become involved in an art project at the LA County Museum and she didn't want him back." Fawcett died 2 months before the interview was released, so she never publicly addressed Redmond's time in the program. Redmond was 19 when he entered a rehabilitation program in 2004 for heroin use. According to his half-siblings, drugs were prominent in their lives due to their father's use, with Griffin O'Neal telling Vanity Fair, "This man was under the influence the whole freaking time." Ryan O'Neal explained to Vanity Fair that by 2009, his youngest son had already been to 13 rehab programs. He told the outlet, "Redmond's had a terrible life. He has addictions he can't control. He goes to sleep in his food. This is not a privileged guy." In 2008, Tatum O'Neal spoke to people about her younger siblings' ongoing struggles with addiction. She said, "There is hope for Redmond. He deserves to have the life of a young man, going to school, hanging out with friends, getting a job. I wish the best for him."
Did we miss a beat? Yeah, I'm sure. We missed a couple. He wasn't happy with who he was.
Sadly, run-ins with the law aren't uncommon in the O'Neal family. From Tatum's drug-related arrests to a brawl between Griffin and their father, there's been a number of incidents that required police interference. In 2005, Redmond was placed on probation for charges relating to the possession of cocaine and methamphetamine. A few years later, in January 2008, Redmond was arrested in Malibu for a DUI and possession of drugs, which led to a probation search 8 months later. When police arrived at Redmond's parents' home where he was staying, both Ryan and his son were arrested for methamphetamine possession, though the actor later claimed it was his son's stash. After Ryan and Redmond were arrested, Tatum told people that she hoped her dad and younger brother would seek treatment. She said, "I'm really worried about Redmond. I want them both to get better and get the help they need, especially my brother." Farrah Fawcett was first diagnosed with cancer in 2006. Sadly, despite years of ongoing treatments, she died from the illness at the age of 62 in 2009. Redmond wasn't able to be by the actor's side when she died, as the 24-year-old was in jail for repeat drug offenses. Ryan requested that his son spare Fawcett from the news of his latest arrest, instead telling her that Redmond couldn't be there because he was in rehab. As Ryan told people at the time, Redmond spoke with Fawcett over the phone and told her he loved her and that he was sorry. Despite being in jail when his mother died, Redmond appeared next to her deathbed in shackles to film a staged farewell video following her death. He did, however, attend Fawcett's funeral, still in chains, and served as a pallbearer alongside his grief-stricken father. All of Ryan O'Neal's children have encountered some form of difficulty in their lives, but Redmond's struggles seem to never end. From the time he was first caught by the police with drugs, he's been in and out of jail over various narcotics charges. In September 2011, Redmond's probation was revoked for the first time after he admitted to continuing using drugs while in treatment, which was a part of his sentencing. Then, in May 2015, Redmond ran into trouble yet again when he was found to have continued his drug use while on probation and hadn't been attending court-ordered doctor's appointments. Redmond's probation was again revoked and he was sentenced to 3 years behind bars. However, he was released after 1 year and placed back on parole. Redmond was charged with attempted murder in June 2018, following his biggest crime spree to date. He was arrested the previous month after being identified as the suspect in an armed robbery of a 7-Eleven. Shortly after, law enforcement tied him to a string of violent incidents that had occurred throughout the week. Between May 2nd and May 8th, a man fitting Redmond's description attacked 4 people and threatened 1 other. He used a knife in several of the assaults, leaving his victims with injuries ranging from minor to serious. LAPD Sergeant Scotty Stevens spoke with ABC News at the time, explaining that the motives weren't clear to them. He said,
"Based on what we know now, that it just started as an argument between unknown persons and quickly escalated with the violent acts."
One of the victims, a man named Ken Fox, filed a lawsuit, alleging Redmond used a homophobic slur before hitting him across the face with a bottle. He said in a press conference,
"In my opinion, he is competent enough to know exactly what he was doing. He wanted to hurt an old, weak, defenseless gay man."
Following his crime spree, Redmond was taken into custody where he's remained since. In 2019, he was deemed mentally incompetent to stand trial and was transferred to a mental hospital where he's been receiving treatment. After Redmond and Ryan were arrested in 2008 on methamphetamine possession charges, Griffin O'Neal suggested to people that his younger half-brother was a product of a bad environment. He told the outlet, "It's a very screwed up family. If you want to be emotionally healthy and strong, you've got to get out. It's a truly sad situation." Years later, Redmond blamed his parents, especially his dad, for where he had ended up. In an interview with Radar Online, he stated, "It's not the drugs that have been a problem, it's the psychological trauma of my entire life. Fighting with my father, being kicked out and living on the streets, going to jail, being put in a psychiatric ward, being embarrassed all the time, just because of who my parents are."
I love them, and sometimes that's not enough.
He also told the outlet that he doesn't want to be in the public eye, and he resents having his life under a microscope. Throughout his life, Ryan O'Neal dealt with leukemia, diabetes, and prostate cancer, all of which he had been fortunate enough to survive. However, in December 2023, Ryan died at the age of 82 from congestive heart failure. He was buried next to Farrah Fawcett in an intimate ceremony in which only one of his children was present.
Ryan, do you feel like Farrah's waiting for you when it is your time?
I hope she is.
Redmond O'Neal didn't attend the ceremony as he was still in custody at Patton State Hospital. According to a source for Radar Online, the actor had attempted to see his youngest son before he died, but Redmond refused to see him. The source told the outlet, "Now Ryan doesn't believe he has much time left and he wants to hug Redmond and tell him how sorry he is." Despite the fact that the two never seemed to make amends before Ryan's death, Redmond was named as the primary beneficiary for Ryan's estimated $30 million estate. Griffin told the New York Post a couple weeks after his dad's death was announced that he and his sister Tatum weren't even invited to the ceremony. He said, "I'm the hated son who told the truth. Dark times in this family. Love means never having to say you're sorry, and Ryan never did to anyone." Once Redmond was deemed unfit to stand trial, he was diagnosed with a series of mental health disorders, including schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. According to documents obtained by Radar Online in 2019, Redmond didn't want to be treated for any of these disorders. However, he eventually began receiving treatment from a state hospital. In October 2024, a source told In Touch Weekly that Redmond hadn't been making very much progress while incarcerated, but that he does have moments of recognition that upset him. According to the outlet's unnamed sources, it seems like Redmond may spend the rest of his life in the institution. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please contact the crisis text line by texting HOME to 741-741. Call the National Alliance on Mental Illness helpline at 1-800-950-NAMI 6264 or visit the National Institute of Mental Health website.